decades criticizing myself. The worst father, the worst husband, the worst man, a little boy, immature, not as strong and manly as other people around me. But in those 30 days of becoming alcohol-free as fuck, I started to begin to treat those parts with tenderness. I could finally see they were just trying to protect me, even if their methods were harmful. Nothing prepares you for quitting alcohol. Not the books, not the blogs, not the stories. Absolutely nothing. Hello everybody, welcome to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. I am your host, Davy. I am not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I am someone who lives a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck, and I spend every waking moment of that life helping other people do the same, like right now. So we are going to talk a little bit today about the benefits that you get when you quit alcohol for 30 days. This is what really happened for me, okay? Now, a lot of people, they think that going 30 days without alcohol is absolutely terrifying. I have had so many clients that can't even imagine a single day without drinking, let alone an entire month. And that fear is real. It's real because it comes from the parts inside of you, the little inner child, wounded, scared parts that whisper to you, how will you relax? How will you have fun? How will you fit in? What if our life will feel empty without it? And I know those fears because I lived them. But when I quit, I didn't have the same fear in the way that most people do. And the reason that is I didn't prepare. And maybe it's because, if you look around the internet now and social media, it's become such an all-encompassing part of our life, right? And podcasts, I was listening today, a podcast, funnily enough, that said there's over 4 million podcasts out there now. So imagine how many different podcasts you can listen to about quit lit, how many books you can read to quit lit, how many coaches you can hire, right? How many communities you can join that could all help you to become alcohol free as fuck. None of that was really happening when I went through my experience about 15 years ago. Yeah. So my experience wasn't really primed with horror stories about withdrawal. I wasn't seduced about the rainbow and unicorn promises of instant transformation either. What really happened for me, and this may happen for you as well, was I had a stubborn part. If we use internal family systems rhetoric here, protector parts are those young parts of your personality that are designed to protect you in the way that they behave and act, usually in very dysfunctional ways, right? Now, I had a part, I still have him today, you don't kill these parts, they're still there, right? I had a part that didn't like it when he's being controlled, especially when he's being controlled by a human being. But in this case, this part said enough is enough because it realized it was being controlled by the liquid lie. And this part that was being controlled by the liquid light couldn't keep the internal family system safe because it couldn't control the chaos that alcohol was bringing into my life. And now all of a sudden, because I had started thinking about the possibility of stopping, the unconscious became conscious, and it kind of woke this beast within me that was like, oh no, I'm really scared now because I am aware that I have an alcohol problem. I am aware that I am alcohol reliant. So the blackouts, the arguments with my wife, the fights, the sickness, the endless loops of shame and regret, that part wanted control back. It didn't want to experience those things. And so for once, it actually overpowered the firefighter part, the part of me that whenever there was an emergency would go to alcohol. This part that wanted more control, it actually subdued the firefighter part. It actually locked the firefighter part in a prison, threw away the key, so we couldn't drink alcohol. It was like a metaphorical rehab. Like the part just basically said, we ain't gonna drink for 30 days to start out, and firefighter, you're not here, right? I'm removing you from the equation. So when I decided to become alcohol free as fuck, I wasn't thinking about unicorns and rainbows. I wasn't thinking about hellfire and suffering. I guess the best way for me to explain it was I just knew in my heart of hearts it was the right thing to do. And some of you will be listening to this, and you'll be thinking the same thing. You'll just know intuitively. There'll be a felt sense that this is the right thing to do, that there's only really upside here, right? And here's the crucial point that I want to impress here. That protector part that wanted control, it only opened the door. But it was once alcohol was out of the way, that was when self could step through that door, you know? So it was really important for me for the protector part to do the early work. And then as part of that early work, self started to emerge more, started to disentangle itself from other protected parts to stand alone as this beautiful, effervescent, compassionate, loving, empathetic version of myself that had been hidden away really for 35 years. And once self stepped through, that's when I really felt strong sense of transformation start to take hold. And this is why at Strive, I don't just teach people to be alcohol free as fuck. I teach them to live a self-led life because I think living a self-led life is more important than actually being alcohol free as fuck, right? So this is the context that I want you to sit with today, is that you might be terrified of 30 days. You might be, right? And you might not even believe that you can make it through the first weekend. Some of you might not be able to think that you can make it through the next 24 hours. I just want you to consider that what if the fear is exaggerated? What if the living hell your parts are telling you that will happen, what if they don't? And what if the story that they're creating is designed to make sure you stick on this path of least resistance and you never go there, you never do it because you are so terrified about what will happen? But what if those 30 days actually unlock different parts of you? Parts that have been waiting patiently underneath all along. Parts that aren't afraid for the transformation, for allowing you to finally find out the true version of yourself, the perfectly imperfect version of you that's always been there bubbling under the surface. I'm going to take a short break, but I want you to sit with this while I do. When was the last time you tried to take a break from alcohol? Was it dry January, a week off, sober October, a health kick? What happened? And what stopped you from following through? Maybe you had a baby and you went 9 months without having any alcohol. Why did you go back? Sit with that for a moment. If you want to test yourself without fear, Strive Foundations is built for this exact moment. It is a 30-day container that lets you experiment with being alcohol-free as fuck. Supported by tools, guidance, and a beautiful Strive community, it's your chance to live the 30 days I'm talking about in this episode and discover what's waiting for you on the other side. You want a piece of that? www.thestrivemethod.com/foundations. Welcome back to the 1000 Days Sober podcast. And before the break, I shared how fear didn't shape my first 30 days alcohol free as fuck and how it opened the door to something quite extraordinary. So I'm going to finish by explaining to you a little bit what happened to me in those 30 days, right? And continue to happen in my life today, actually. So looking back now, again, using internal family systems rhetoric, I can see that the 8 C's of self really defined my first 30 days alcohol free. I didn't have that language at the time. I couldn't categorize it into 8 C's, but every single one of them really did come alive for me. I'm going to explain why that happened to me and to present this as an opportunity that it can also happen to you, right? If you get your right head on. Do you ever used to watch Wurzel Gummidge when you had different heads? All right, I need you to take off your pessimistic head and put on your optimistic head when we listen to this, right? So one of the first things I felt in the first 30 days of being alcohol free as fuck was a sense of calmness. Because when you're alcohol reliant, there's no way around it. You can't sugarcoat it. Your life is absolutely chaos. Blackouts, fighting, shame spirals, self-betrayal. But the moment I made the decision to not drink, to say, and I said it, I'm never drinking ever again. When I made that decision, when I drove the stake into the sand, the storm went quiet. No more negotiating in my head, No more cognitive dissonance, no more fighting between parts, no more waking up wondering whether today would be the day that I would relapse. Just peace, just calm. And then came curiosity. So I had spent 35 years believing that alcohol gave me incredible value. It made me funnier, braver, more sociable. But when I stopped drinking, I began to question those beliefs. In fact, questioning those beliefs and changing those beliefs was one of the reasons that I was able to become alcohol free as fuck. I asked myself, was alcohol really the source of my connection? Or was it the liquid lie? That curiosity didn't just stop my relationship with alcohol, it spilled into my entire life. Because I started asking myself, well, if I actually think that alcohol for 35 years had incredible value and now I don't believe it does, what else am I getting wrong in this life of mine? Why have I been working as a railwayman for 20 years? Why have I been in this relationship, which is clearly not working, for the past 15 years of marriage? Why do I live here? Why are these my friends? And that hunger to examine everything in my life was the start of a quite magnificent transformation that everybody around me felt to some degree or another. And then with curiosity came clarity, because suddenly, without alcohol present in my life, the fog lifted. I wasn't someone who drinks. I wasn't alcohol reliant. I wasn't someone who was trying to moderate. I wasn't somebody who had to drink sparkling water because I had the car or I was on antibiotics. No, I was alcohol free as fuck. And I was proud. And that gave me clarity about who I was and what I wanted out of my life. It gave me clarity about my values, about the types of relationships that lifted me up and those that pulled me down. And talking about relationships in those 30 days, I also discovered compassion. I had spent decades criticizing myself, the worst father, the worst husband, the worst man, a little boy, immature, not as strong and manly as other people around me. But in those 30 days of becoming alcohol free as fuck, I started to begin to treat those parts with tenderness. I could finally see they were just trying to protect me, even if their methods were harmful, right? I really could. And that compassion that I was showing to myself extended outward, especially to people stuck in the liquid lie. As soon as I became alcohol free as fuck, I started a podcast, I started a blog, and I started to build Strive. And people started to reach out to me and I started to help them. I could not have done that without compassion for them. They never would have stuck to me. They never would have been pulled into the orbit of my energy. And then courage. Because if I could quit alcohol, this thing that nobody else around me could do. I didn't know anybody who'd quit alcohol except my granddad. In my entire life. I knew two people who didn't drink, Steve and Nicola, but they'd never drunk in their entire life. I'd never met anybody who'd stopped drinking apart from my granddad. But I stopped drinking. So what else could I do? And within like a matter of months, I left my 19-year career on the railway. A decision that I would say was far more complicated and challenging than quitting alcohol, but fueled by the same fire. And I really believe that there's a link here when you want to become alcohol free as fucking live a self-led life between momentum and courage. And for me, every major decision I made to change my life, to like stick on my North Star, right, gave me the strength for the next big thing. So becoming alcohol free as fuck gave me the courage and the confidence that suddenly I could now leave the railway, right? Because I wasn't hiding anymore. I was always confident, but this confidence was different. There's a big difference between confident parts and self that just exudes a natural, healthy confidence. I would walk into pubs, right? And I would tell people my story where most people would fear the loss of approval. I was carrying it as a beacon, as a billboard, because I wanted other people to be inspired, not from ego, but I wanted to share the message to help other people, right? That's how confident I was. And then there was creativity. Before, I would say my imagination was running on fumes. But when alcohol left, it was like the canvas of my life had expanded. Suddenly the world was it was bigger. That's the only way I could see it. Like I went from a very small town mentality to what is possible. So the canvas on which I could now repaint my life was much bigger. So I started to build training programs, create the podcast that you're listening to today, turning my thoughts into frameworks, using the creativity that self has in spades, right? And all of a sudden, my world became bigger, brighter, more colorful, and I loved every minute of it. And then there's the connectedness, the deepest shift of all. I became more connected to self. I became more connected to my wounded inner child parts, still am today. It's been driving me for decades. And then something bigger than that, right? I remember my sister saying to me, I never used to really like you, Lee, but you're different now. I actually like being around you. And that one hit me hard because what changed wasn't just my behavior, it was my energy, my presence, my groundedness, my management of my nervous system, my connection to life itself, even questioning and thinking as a non-religious, non-spiritual man, the interconnectedness of all things, the interconnectedness of all things. It's really funny. We're at a poker tournament at the moment, and my wife is managing the massage team. And it was a new bunch of girls, and some of them were like, oh, I'm not getting as much work as that girl because that girl is prettier than me, talking about aesthetics. What I said to my wife, and she agreed with me, it's not about aesthetics, it's about energy. And this is what I learned when I first became alcohol free as fuck, especially in those first 30 days, is you exude a different energy. And the energy that you exude attracts a same type of frequency. So as somebody who is alcohol reliant, I'm mired in victim consciousness. So I'm emitting the energy frequency of victim consciousness, and I'm attracting the same energy of victim consciousness, right? Whereas like when I stopped drinking, I started to exude this really positive, grounded, beautiful, calm energy. And then I attracted the same. And that's how everything started to change for me. Now, those 8 C's, they didn't just show up in the first 30 days. They will show up for you in the first 30 days, but they continue to show up and expand 15 years later. And they all began with one decision. I'm not going to drink alcohol. And the same could happen for you. In fact, I'm sure it can. Okay, today's daily vow. Today, I will not drink alcohol because these next 30 days are the beginning of my calmness, my clarity, my courage, and my connection. When you quit alcohol for 30 days, you don't just remove the drink, you reveal your true self. So here's my invitation to you. Start your 30 days today and let your very first action be a simple one. Rate and review this show. Do it as your day one commitment. And then subscribe so you've got to guide me for every single day of your journey. And also share this episode with someone else who might need a nudge to start their 30 days too. Everything that I've talked about today has been about helping other people. Like learning to serve others, you learn to serve yourself. Okay? Send on the sovereign vow, shall we? One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, big deep breath. Repeat after me. I am a striver who is alcohol free as fuck. And I will not drink alcohol today because that is not what I do and that is not who I am. Until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, much love and strive on.